Hello there. Welcome or welcome back. I'm Reverend Nhien, founder of Evolving Enneagram. If you're seeking a compassion-based, contemplative approach to the Enneagram, you are in the right place. We are in the middle of a 52-week Sunday talk series on this book, Your Heart Was Made for This, by Oren J. Sofer. Last week, we covered the topic of your Enneagram type and aspiration, how the type lens can impact your soul's aspiration in this world. And today, we're going to cover how your instinctual bias can impact your aspiration. So, ready? Let's begin. So I'd like to begin with my aspiration for you, which is that this video will support your thriving in our world. And I want to begin with a quote from the author himself, Oren J. Sofer. He wrote, "To aspire is to connect with spirit, with the energy that animates our life." And so this idea of like you connecting with your aspiration is also a way that you are connecting with the divine, the highest part of you, in service not only to your individual thriving, but through your welcoming of this deep heart's desire, soul's desire within you, that you inevitably contribute to the thriving of our world. The poet Maya Angelou once said, "My mission in life is not merely to survive, but to thrive, and to do so with some passion, some compassion, some humor, always vital, and some style." That's Maya Angelou. So of course, we each have our own style, our own interpretation, our own meaning for what thriving is. And again, my deepest hope is that today's discussion of instinctual bias can help you to see maybe one way in which that instinctual bias is actually keeping you from fully inhabiting your soul's aspiration. So as we engage in Enneagram inner work, many of us like to think of our Enneagram types in relationship to three instinctual domains. Now, to be clear, I'll use the term three instincts for short, but what I'm really referring to is a cluster of survival strategies that we basically thrown into three different general boxes. And those boxes are, first, our self-preservation instinct, sometimes called the preserving instinct, our sexual instinct, sometimes called our transmitting instinct, and then also our social instinct, sometimes called the navigating instinct. So let's go over all three of those a little bit more deeply. So the first instinct that we all have is our self-preservation instinct. This is the instinct to like literally keep our own physical bodies alive. It's the instinct toward maintaining health and well-being as well. And so when we're focused on this instinctual domain, we might focus on self-care, for instance. What am I eating? Am I warm enough? Have I gotten enough exercise? I want to be clear that just because we're focused in this instinctual domain doesn't necessarily mean we are good at it. It just means that this is where the bulk of our attention and energy like defaults or goes, right? And so practicality and resources is also related to this. A lot of like the how-tos of life. Do I know how to get to the store, like the logistics? That's very important, again, to maintaining your physical well-being. Home life is a big deal. So, I mean, literally shelter, but also all the things related to it, like maintaining the house, doing the chores. Like these are all related to the self-preservation domain of life, which again is occupied with maintaining our well-being in our actual like physical bodies. It can be very much focused on me or my body. Sometimes it extends to, say, your families as well, you know, those under my roof in my home. The next instinct is the sexual instinct. Now, keep in mind, this is a basic survival instinct. This is the way that our genetics go forward into the future, right? So it's ingrained into our beings as biological human beings, right? Another way of looking at the sexual instinct is it's there's an instinct around merging that is very strong. Okay, so literally, right, in the sexual act, there is that. But there's also a tendency to merge with something you're passionate about and that you're working on. So you can get lost for hours. Like maybe it's a new person, but it could also be a creative endeavor that you're involved in. And so this merger quality can be strong with respect to this instinctual domain. And then within it, there's also this focus of attention on attraction. Now, I mean, not just what you're attracted to, it's also like what repulses you, but there's like a great awareness for those who are really keen and hyper focused on this particular domain. There's a sense of wanting to be attractive. And in fact, some people consider this the instinct that drives us to be fundamentally sexually competitive, right? So we'll have hyper awareness around what makes us sexually competitive, which could be different in different cultures or subcultures, and may not always be related to physical attractiveness, but attractiveness on many levels that, maybe it's about during a certain era when men making money or women being beautiful. Again, cliche and of a certain era, but just to give an example of how that might look. Also, this instinct, if you think about it, you need to leave the home in order to find a mate. So there's something about this instinct that also allows for a spirit of greater exploration. So across all Enneagram types, they're going to have a little bit of the spirit of adventure and being willing to be on the edge of the known. So the next instinct is the social instinct. And the social instinct is very focused on questions of belonging. If you think about it, again, going back to our survival, we are better or stronger together in a group. And so this instinct is an instinct to be very attuned to group hierarchy, power dynamics within the group. Also, what are the mores and values of a particular group? And do I accord with those values or not? Am I in or am I out of this group? Now, just because someone who's strong in social instinct doesn't mean that they're also going to feel like they fit in, depending on their particular Enneagram lens, but they'll be obsessed with the question of belonging, even if they're chronically feeling like they don't belong. So I want to make that clear about this instinct. The social instinct tends to focus on connection, like creating and sustaining relationships. And also, again, you can imagine how helpful this is to interpret social cues, to focus on like reading and interpreting social cues. Now, if you're not hyper focused on the social instinct, you might be like, well, why do they care so much? To just recognize that when a person is strong in this instinct, there's a special focus on reading the room, making sure that that you're in alignment with the group, or you at least know whether the group is safe or not, right? There's a reason for this radar that's like biological. And then finally, within the social instinct is also an instinct to bring energy and attention to participating and contributing, or whether you're participating and whether you're contributing in this particular group. Like the questions and decisions about whether you want to can be very alive for you. And so these are the three general instinctual domains. And the idea is that we tend to have a preference for one. We call that our dominant instinctual domain, or their dominant instinct to be short. And so based on our dominant instinct, I want to share here today about what that might look like as it impacts your aspirations or your relationship to your own aspirations. So let's begin again with the self-preservation instinct. When you are self-preservation dominant, or SP dominant in your instinct, you can tend to prefer habits and routines. And so the negative of that is that over time, you can simply be in a rut, get in a rut with the same way of living and the same routines, leaning into the comfort of them. And again, this is across all Enneagram types. And so in the midst of that, you can lose sight of what you individually are passionate about. And in fact, you can tend to also judge people who follow their passion, right? Because you've kind of repressed that within yourself. And so it's important to think about this and to ask yourself, what are my aspirations that might seem reckless or foolish? Just so that you can get a sense of some aspects of your own inner life or your soul's calling that you might have repressed because there's such an overvaluing within you of the stability of all that the self-preservation instinct has to offer. If you ask yourself, what are my aspirations that feel foolish or reckless, you might tap into a piece of yourself that is really seeking full expression for you to live your divine potential in this life. So let's explore the sexual instinct. Now, when the sexual instinct is dominant, remember that spirit of exploration that's available? There's something about the sexual instinct that is like ping, ping, ping. And there's just this hyper awareness of, ooh, like what's exciting, right? And like the sense of chemistry. And then following that chemistry and forgetting the time, forgetting to eat, and whether the chemistry is like with another person or possibly chemistry in terms of being engaged in an exciting creative endeavor that you're just wrapped in, right? And again, so nothing bad in and of itself, but what happens is that number one, sexual instinct dominant people can actually often like burn themselves out really quickly or be inconsistent in their delivery, and so that it's hard to live your passion when oh, you forgot that you have to pay your rent or something, right? And so now you have to go attend to that, and then you, when you turn back to what your passion is, you have to start all over again. So there's a lot of more erratic and inconsistent behavior in those who are sexual dominant, just because their focus of attention, their sense of what gives me life is just different, right? So the self-preservation more about a certain stability in life, and the sexual instinct is much more like, where's the juice, right? But again, following that means that they can neglect important areas of life. And so if you can feel into the ways that maybe your excitement and your passion eclipse other aspirations that are more, that are quieter, that don't have that little ping, ping, ping energy, then that can help you to stabilize and even actually live your passions more. I know for me personally, there was a time in my life when, being someone who identifies as sexual dominant and with my self-preservation being the lowest, I had 5 different jobs in 5 years, 5 different relationships, moved 5 different times. I mean, it was like chaos. And I don't think I even fully realized that it wasn't good for me, because I was so driven by that dominant sexual instinct that tends to focus on the next and the new and the thing that has chemistry, as if that's the only place life is. And my maturation has come in great part through Enneagram inner work that has enabled me to really tap into, wow, well, I have a maybe deeper, steadier, quieter aspiration that maybe I've judged and repressed because it's outside the sexual category, and it's for, how about financial well-being and healthcare, things that stabilize me, that don't feel all intense all the time. And again, back then I would have thought, no, that's like a living death, but over time, uh through the inner work, we can come to see that there's a balancing and grounding factor that all of the other instincts can have for us when we're aware of the filter that our dominant instinct causes, right? Our bias, if you will. So ask yourself, if you are sexual dominant, what practical aspirations or even what relationship aspirations, like maintaining your relationships, are important to put your energy toward in order to maintain the balance and the grounding and the infrastructure that you need in order to better live your passion and be suited to more deeply fulfilling your passion over time. So finally, let's talk about the social instinct. And so again, there's a biological or reason for valuing belonging in a community, right? We have safety in numbers. There's safety, emotional as well as physical safety in your tribe, if you will. So it's important to note that, because for those who are social dominant, if your aspiration, if your new soul's truth, if even like your spiritual beliefs or political ideologies have begun to change, right? And you're feeling like out of integrity with your own being, there's an invitation here to recognize if the social dominant aspect of your being is actually inhibiting your soul's highest expression in this moment of your life. And so recognizing that and having compassion for how it does feel more like, if you are a social dominant, that you will die, that you won't survive being outcast by a group or rejected by a group or not having the approval of a certain community, and recognizing that you're more sensitive to that than folks who are dominant in the other instincts, right? And at the same time, not letting it be an excuse for you to not unfold your truth, your soul's calling, your greatest aspiration for yourself in your life at this time. And it could be helpful to find new friends, one or two new friends that support you in this, because that need for a sense of alliance can be so strong for you, right? So take it easy on yourself. In fact, this is a message for everyone. I hope this was helpful in helping you to see that on top of your Enneagram type, there's this additional filter. In fact, this is a drive that motivates us to use our type strategies to meet the basic needs that particular drive is doing, that so that this is operating all the time, and that it impacts, right, your ability to sense into what is whole and right for you at this moment of your life to unfold your soul's potential, and allow that your survival strategies, these survival instincts, don't always let you thrive. But by recognizing that they're at play, that's the beginning of transcending them and becoming a more whole and authentic you in this moment or this season of your life. I so dearly hope that this has been helpful to you. I'd love to hear your comments, whether in our groups this week or in the comments below. And next week, we're going to focus on the topic of energy and the Enneagram. Blessings.